Last weekend, my nephew from Houston came to visit, and my nephew is like 2 years old. And usually when they're 2 years old, they're really cute and adorable. That usually only lasts for the first hour. If you ever have to spend more than 3 or 4 or 5 hours with a 2-year-old, things get old really quick. They become like hot potatoes. You can't wait to get them out of your hands. Do you know that there's only one thing that can possibly calm a baby down? That thing is called sleep. That is the only time a baby will ever stay still long enough for you to do anything productive. As horrible as it sounds, I couldn't wait for my nephew to go to sleep. The goal is for him to be sleeping and for me to be awake so I can be productive and go on Facebook and play games. That's why when it's 8 or 9, I'm usually like, it's go time. I gotta make sure I do everything perfect so he falls asleep. I gotta get him his bottle of milk. I gotta get him his security blankets. Besides his milk and his security blanket, there's a third thing that I notice gets him to go sleep a lot quicker. And that thing is called fake sleeping. I can just lay there, close my eyes, wait for him to get bored and sleepy, and notice that there's nothing happening inside the room because Uncle Thao is sleeping, it's dark. In other words, bore him to death with my fake sleeping. That is my game plan going into this. So here's what happened. I lay him on the bed, give him a security blanket, give him his bottle. I turn off the lights, I pretend to sleep next to him, waiting for him to fall asleep so I can leave. That's the plan. So after a couple minutes, I notice that his hand is slowly prodding my face. Why is he touching my face? I have no idea. He has never done this before. So he touches my forehead, slowly goes down to my eyes. He's probably thinking, hey look, there's something brown and soft on Uncle Tao's face. Probably doesn't even know what it is. After a couple of moments, I guess he gets bored of my eyes. So he slowly goes south, which means my nose. And he's feeling around my nose and he's pushing it, thinking it's some kind of rubber ball. Well, things turn from good to bad really quick when my nephew decides to stick his finger up my nose. So he went from this to this to this. Believe me when I say this, but there is nothing more uncomfortable than having someone else stick their finger up your own nose. Because the inside of your nose is extremely sensitive. So whenever you're sticking your finger in there, you know where it can go and where it shouldn't go. Well, my nephew doesn't know where his finger should go. So of course, he's touching all the areas that's making me feel extremely uncomfortable. And it's all the spots that I would never ever go. But of course, my nephew went there. And this is where I was about to lose it. But I had a moment of clarity. I knew that if I woke up and said those things, it would mean that Uncle Tao is awake, which means that I don't have to sleep, which means that it's crazy time for me again, which ultimately means no me time for Uncle Tao. I did the only thing that made sense at that moment, which was continue my fake sleeping. And I had to endure a couple more minutes of my nephew sticking his finger up where it should not be. So of course he stops, and I let out a sigh of relief. I was so proud of myself. I told myself it's finally over. Finally, some me time. It was gonna be Uncle Tao 1, Nephew 0. You know how people say you should never count your eggs before they're hatched? Well, I definitely counted my eggs before they hatched, because evidently Oliver was not finished yet. I should have seen this because it's so obvious now that I think about it. Because first, he started at my forehead, then he moved slowly to my eyes, then he went to my nose. Any fifth grader could tell you where he was gonna go next. And of course, I wasn't ready for it because I was still celebrating my victory over the fact that I got him to finally take his finger out of my nose. So what came next was a total shock to me because my nephew decided to continue exploring my face with the same finger that he just stuck up my nose. And he decided the next place he would go would be my lips. Do you know what that means? That means he's spraying all that slimy goo that people call booger all over my lips. I was about to have a nervous breakdown. But I did not get this far just to give up halfway. I could have sworn my nephew was trolling me. He probably knows that I was fake sleeping and he's doing all these things to see if I would ever cave under pressure. I'm pretty sure my face was something like this the whole time. And soon after that, he got really still and stopped making weird noises with his bottle, which usually means that he's about to fall asleep. Soon after, I left the room as quietly as I could. And once I got out, I celebrated with a whole cup of listerine. I wanted to make sure my mouth was as clean as possible